Hey, Riley. You can.
Hi.
You're awesome. Let's get it done. And Sam, thanks for joining me again. Sorry we had to wait till 8, but thanks for hanging out. Hope you got a snack or something. Yeah, I'm back. I'm so sorry. I've had a cold, so I'm having trouble not coughing. All right, let's go ahead and get started. I don't know if anybody else will join us, but hopefully they will join us soon if they do. All right. So I have made this presentation for you, and hopefully we'll flesh it out a little bit more as we go. That's not the right link. Share. This is the link to the presentation if you want to bookmark it. And then you can come back here and get the links so you can see. So there are two parts to the final exam. One is the final exam where you have some questions, just like your normal quizzes, kind of where you read and answer questions or where you listen and answer questions. And then there's the final project, like when you did a project at the end of 1, 2, and 3, or when you did a project at the end of 4, 5, and 6. So that's the same, very similar to Sam because you just finished that one today. So with the reading, you're going to have two different passages. You'll have one conversation, and it'll be like a long conversation, and then you're going to answer some questions. That's why I told you in the last session that phrase, I'm going to type it in the chat again, tiene lugar en, it takes place at. There's another phrase, en cuanto a. That's a really good one to write down to remember, and that means regarding, or if that's about something, right? Regarding your homework, right? So en cuanto a and tiene lugar en, those are two really important phrases. I can't stress that enough for you to know for that very first conversation thing there. And then you're going to have 3 paragraphs that describe a person and the things that you've learned, like their address, where they live, what they like to do. And then you're going to be answering some questions about that. If I'm going to look just really quickly so I can remember 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 11 questions for the first conversation. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 questions for the second one. I think 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. No, there are 10 for each. So the conversation, you're going to read the conversation, answer 10 questions about it. There are basically like multiple choice drop down, not like multiple choice, but like matching what you've been seeing in all of the quizzes thus far. So you're going to have part of the sentence over here in Spanish, and you're going to match it with part of the sentence over here in Spanish for the conversation, about the conversation. Same thing about the paragraph about the person. You'll have something about the person on the left, and you'll have to match it with the second part of the sentence on the right that comes from what you read. So the next part, how can you practice? So one thing that is really great about Life is there are a lot of great resources. So this is a really great one for reading. And I gave you the link to the presentation, but these A1 activities right here, there are 4 of them. So if we talk about Mi Nueva Casa, there are 3 paragraphs here where you can read about this person. So let's try to break this down a little bit together. Yo vivo en Granada. What do you guys think that means? Yo vivo en Granada.
I live in Granada.
I live in Granada. Great job. Something happened to my sound. Una ciudad pequeña. Is it a large city or a small city? You guys can both turn your mics on. It's okay if you want to. Do you guys think it's a large city or a small city? Or you type it in? Yeah, small city. It's a small city that has something that we just learned about in our last lesson. It has this thing called monumentos. What do you guys think those are? Monumentos.
Monuments, maybe?
Yeah, great job. Monuments. And these monuments are very important, like the Alhambra. Have you guys ever heard of Alhambra? Alhambra is in Spain, and it's huge. It was basically built by the Moors or the Muslim people in Spain, and it's like a huge castle fortress, and it has amazing architecture. If you ever get a chance to check it out or go to Spain, you would really like it. So she lives in, or I live in Granada, and it's in it's has important monuments like Alhambra. They also have really great food. Aquí la comida es deliciosa y son famosos el gazpacho. Obviously, we haven't learned this is not in our chapter, but gazpacho, if you looked up gazpacho, do you guys know, have you ever heard of gazpacho? Gazpacho is a cold tomato soup. So here it's kind of like a cold salsa soup, if you think about it, but it doesn't taste like salsa, but it's very interesting. Sometimes it has like pieces of bread that are mixed up in there, but it has a lot of different vegetables. So that's gazpacho, but it's always cold because in Spain it's actually kind of hot, right? So it's really refreshing. El rebujito. So we have to look up what el rebujito is. Oh, el rebujito con hierba buena. So it looks like, what do you guys think? If we go a little bit further, maybe like a soft drink, right? Maybe, I don't know, hopefully, oh, sherry wines, maybe here. Maybe not a soft drink, but a hard drink. And el salmorejo. El salmorejo. Traditional soup, right? So this might actually be hot, but it's made with extra virgin olive oil and garlic. So we have those things inside of Granada here. So my new house is in una calle. Do you guys remember what calle means from Spanish one? Calle. My house is on a calle.
Didn't that mean like street or something?
It
I
does.
can't remember.
Yeah, that's right. It's on a street. Ancha means wide. It's on a street that has a lot of árboles. Do you guys remember what árboles are? Sometimes streets have a lot of these lining them. Especially in like towns because they want to make it look nice. So they have a lot of árboles.
I mean, like a lot of trees there.
Trees. Árbol means tree, so a lot of trees. So the piso de arriba de mi casa tiene tres dormitorios. So Riley, what do you recognize in the sentence that you understand?
I don't know how to pronounce it that well, but the last word, and that's like the last word that's highlighted.
That's right. What's that?
I'm pretty sure I meant like room or something.
Yeah, you're right. And so it has tres dormitorios, 3 bedrooms, right? My house has 3 bedrooms. And Sam, do you remember what piso means?
I know that it's a word that we learned, but I have no clue what it means.
It's okay. Sometimes houses may have dos pisos or tres pisos.
Oh, is that a window? No.
Nope,
Uh,
what were you thinking? Un piso.
Oh, floor. It means floor.
That's right. Great job. So they might have floors, right? The upstairs floor of my house has 3 bedrooms. Y un despacho para trabajar. Un despacho in order to do work. You do work in this place in your house. What do we call that sometimes? Sometimes houses have this thing in them and people do work in them.
An office?
Yeah, in despacho. So the piso arriba, the upstairs floor, has this, but the downstairs floor has a cocina. What do you think this is, Sam? Una cocina muy grande.
A big kitchen?
Big kitchen. In Riley, they also have a comedor con una mesa. What's that? Comedor con una mesa.
Isn't that?
Do you
I
remember?
forgot what.
You remember?
I forgot what it was. Was it like what?
You know what come means?
Isn't it like kitchen or something or dining room? I can't
It's
remember.
dining room. That's right. Yeah, cocina is kitchen. Comedor is dining room. And in the dining room, it has a mesa and seis sillas. Do you remember what that means, Sam? The dining room has a mesa and seis sillas. What do you normally find in a dining room?
A table and chairs,
A table and how many chairs?
6.
6, perfect. So we have a salón con dos sofás verdes, and we can go by context here, right? A sofa is a sofa, so this is probably a living room, right? Una televisión, a television, and you may not know what cortinas are, but they're curtains. Besides that, there's a small terrace with a piscina, which is a pool, where you can tomar el sol en el verano. What do you do at the pool that's not swimming? A lot of people do it on the side of the pool. They're at the pool though, so
Doesn't tomorrow mean to take?
yeah, to take the, what's sol?
The sun?
To take the sun,
Oh, so is it like sunbathing?
sunbathing, great. Yes, perfect. Where I can take the sun or where I can sunbathe in the summer. All right, this last paragraph. Me gusta mucho mi casa. I like my house. Why does this person like their house? Puedo invitar a mis amigos. Oh, this part does work too.
Would you like to invite your friends?
I can invite my friends to do what? Cenar. Anybody remember what that is? Cenar. It's closely related to comer, but it's a specific time of day.
Does that mean to get lunch,
Close.
dinner?
Dinner. So I can invite my friends to dinner, or we can ver el fútbol en mi televisión. What do you think, Riley?
That they can watch football on the TV.
Close to football. What is the football?
Oh yeah, that was soccer. My bad.
No, it's great. I always get that messed up with that one too. I was like, wait, no, not football, soccer. Football, if you're in England, they call it football. So besides that, near my house, hay muchas tiendas. There are a lot of blanks para hacer la compra. Unit 7 was all about this. There are a lot of tiendas para hacer la compra. In Unit 7, what do we talk about?
It's buying something, right?
Yeah, shopping. So there are a lot of stores where I can go shopping, right? Like a panaderia. Do you guys know what pan is in Spanish? Pan,
Oh, it means bread. So bakery.
bread. Yeah, bakery. Anytime you see eria on the end of a thing, you might think, oh, that's a store. A bread store, right? We would call it a bakery. What about carniceria? Does anybody know what carne is?
A butcher?
Chile, have you ever had chile con carne? Chili con carne. Mhm. Carne. Oh, you say butcher? I'm sorry. I just couldn't hear very well.
Yeah, I said
I heard
butcher.
it. Heard it in the back of my mind. It just registered. Butcher. Yeah, carne means meat. So carniceria is a butcher. And then pescaderia. This is a funny word in English. I mean, not the word for pesca. If sometimes you're, well, at least my grandfather, and he loved to do this in the summer. He would go to the beach and it would be like his favorite thing to do.
Fishing?
Fishing. So pescaderia, in English, we call it a fishmonger. It's kind of a funny word, but a place where you buy fish. I don't know another word. Do you guys know another word for fish place?
Fish store?
Fish store. Yes, but that could be like a pet store. Okay. All right. So now that we've read that, right? The really great thing about this is you can go back and you can practice doing one on your own. You can pick one in the level A1. That's probably where you're going to be. You can even challenge yourself, try to do an A2 one. These are British levels, but if we go back to our reading, casa, and we answer these questions. ¿En qué ciudad está la casa? I like this one because your questions are going to be in, or part of the question is going to be in Spanish, actually both parts, but I like this because it's in Spanish. So what do you guys think? ¿En qué ciudad está la casa? ¿En Sevilla, en Albacín, en Andalucía, or in Granada?
D.
One more time.
Granada.
En Granada. Great job. D and B are hard to hear on the thing. ¿Cuántos dormitorios tiene la casa?
B.
B. Muy bien. B. Hope said B. ¿Qué tipo de tiendas hay cerca de la casa nueva? ¿Qué tipo de tiendas hay cerca de la casa nueva?
B.
Panadería, carnicería,
B.
pescadería. Excelente. ¿De qué color son las sofás del salón? Las sofás. We have amarillo, azul, verde, naranja.
Sorry, I have really bad dyslexia, so it takes me a long time to read
Oh,
stuff.
that's great. It's in the second paragraph near the end. Looking for the word sofa.
Oh, verdes.
Verdes. Great job. ¿Qué comidas son famosas and I'm not giving you a lot of time. I'm sorry. It's just because we don't have a lot of time. But ¿qué comidas son famosas en Granada? Do you guys remember which one of these? It's in the first paragraph.
Oh yeah. Would it be C?
Yep, perfect. So we got 100. Great job. And then we can practice again. You know, I put that link in there for you guys to practice. It won't be a question like this, but it'll be like a first part of a question. Like this story takes place in, and then over here it will be the name of the place. Does that make sense? So you just look for in Granada or something like that on your final exam. Okay. There's also this link to the National Spanish exam. This is a really great one. And you can choose, you can look at the vocabulary and grammar. There are 4 practice tests for level 1 and level 0. So I would practice with those. But I really like the reading and listening one because those are the ones that are going to be more like your test, not the grammar ones. So as you go down here, I mean, the other ones are really good to practice too, but you'll have, yours will be longer where you're reading, but these are good to practice like, hey, can I recognize this thing and talk about this? The only thing I don't like about this is the question is in Spanish and your questions will be in, is in English, but your questions will be in Spanish. But it's really good practice to kind of start reading, and all this is Spanish 1 stuff. Does that make sense? And then down here, the nice thing about this one is it has listening ones. So if we listen to this paragraph here,
Mamá,
if I play that, can you guys hear it?
mamá,
Can you hear that guy say mama?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to play it and we're going to try to figure out which item Lorenzo still needs for school, okay?
mamá, necesito muchas cosas para el colegio. Ropa, zapatos.
Ay, Lorenzo, no necesitas más ropa. Tienes que comprar lápices y papel para hacer la tarea.
Ya tengo mucho papel, pero necesito una calculadora y un cuaderno para la clase de matemáticas.
Tienes una calculadora. Está en tu escritorio.
So you may or may not have caught what he needed, but if you had to take a guess, what's the one thing that he still needs for school?
I'm pretty sure he still needs the calculator, or I don't really know. I can't remember that. I don't.
What's your guess, Sam?
It sounded like they didn't mention the notebook, but they did mention at the end that he needs a calculator.
Okay, so at the end, if we listen to that listen to the end.
Clase
part
de
of it.
matemáticas.
Tienes una
So she says, tienes una calculadora en tu escritorio. You have a calculator in your desk.
Then it has to be
calculadora.
notebook.
Está en tu escritorio.
And so he would need the notebook, right? Because they already mentioned, like he mentioned, and that one's kind of, that's a tricky one, right? Because they mentioned it. Yours won't be necessarily that tricky, but you will have to listen for the things. So that's why it's really good to practice with these things. And you're like, oh, wait a minute, I can do that. As you're listening, try to write down what they're saying and try to be like, oh, that was this word and that was this word. I got this, okay? On your exam, I try to put a picture. This is what it will look like. You'll have a recording And then you'll have 2 questions that go with that recording. So you can listen to it multiple times. It has you have 8 recordings and they have 2 to 4 questions for each one. So right here is an example of one that has 2 questions, but it could have up to 4 questions. Some of them are matching. As you're listening, I don't know if you guys have ever seen it, and I hope you have, but have you seen this little thing where you can change the recording to be slower?
Yeah.
Great. So don't hesitate. Usually 0.75 doesn't sound so weird. I like 0.75. If you need to slow it down even more, 0.50, but it's 13 seconds. So you can write down most of the things that they're saying, and then you can be like, oh, I need to understand this. I can break that down, or you can, listen to it once full speed and then break it down as to how you need it to be. All right. So again, I put links to those listening activities there for Lingua and for the National Spanish exam. If you go to the Lingua website, you'll see that it's very similar to what we just did. This one's about La Casa de Mis Abuelos. And so you're listening to the text here, and it tells you who's talking.
Lingua.com, comprensión auditiva, La Casa de Mis Abuelos.
This is really long. You won't have one that's 2 minutes and 20 seconds long on your test. But as you listen, you can go through. It's a really good practice because you're like, oh, wait, I need to understand what this means. What's the house like?
Mi casa es muy pequeña, pero
Mi casa es muy pequeña,
la de mis abuelos es
and you want to say, ¿Cómo es mi casa? Okay, so that's pequeña. And it kind of goes in order, hopefully, as you go through. I haven't actually done that one, but I just think these are kind of good overall things to help you understand what the test is going to be like, because it's going to be listening and reading, not your normal, like, what grammar rule is this one? Like, you have to understand the whole part of the language rather than like picking apart the different things. Does that make sense? Hopefully that will help you. So with the, I think I went over it already, but with the reading, with the listening and then the reading, you have two paragraphs, 10 questions each for the reading. The listening has 8 recordings, and then you have 2 to 4 questions each, and then you're done with that one. So that is the final exam. Do you guys have any questions before I move on to something else?
In the beginning of the thing, it said 2 space 3 paragraphs, and I didn't know if that meant 23 or 2 to 3 paragraphs. I'm pretty sure it meant 2 to 3.
Oh, number 2. I'm sorry. That should say number 2. This is going to be a 3-paragraph thing describing a person.
Oh, okay.
With the thing. Yeah, great question. So 2 passages. The first passage is a conversation, basically back and forth between 2 people talking about something, and you have to answer questions about that. And then the second part is 3 paragraphs that describe a person.
So is there an exam and a project?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So final exam is the first part, and then we're going to go over the final project. I also
And that all forms of 20%?
Yep.
Okay.
So one part is 10% and one part is 10%. So this Study Spanish review is just a really great one, and I pointed out in a lot of classes, but go to grammar, and if you want to review all the things in Spanish 1, you can take this and basically go all the way down through. Yep. All the way down through unit like 5 to about 58. If you're like, I don't really know how to do stem changing verbs O to UE, you can click here. There's a lesson about it, and you can also do the basic quiz to practice that. If you want to remember how to do those grammatical things, then that's a really good resource for you. So I put the link to that grammar review there. All right. So any questions before we move on again to the final project that you thought of in 5 seconds? So good. All right. So the final project is very similar in some ways. The first part is very similar to the things that you've done for 1, 2, and 3. So you're going to imagine a scenario based in Costa Rica. You might be an exchange student, and you're going to develop a written project. You should include material learned from all the units. So one thing that I try to tell people is like, if you're writing about yourself, like, hi, my name is Riley. Hi, my name is Sam. I am from this, right? Basic conversation. I am this many years old, right? In Spanish, we say I have this many years. So if we started our project and we were talking about basic conversation, we could start with all of those things that you did in your projects. That's why doing the projects is kind of really awesome because you have a lot of things to pull from there. So you might start your project and we'll add a couple slides here. And you could start with your first slide. Hola, me llamo Abril. Soy de los Estados Unidos. Vivo en Silva. What else could I say about myself? I'm 42. What else would you guys know how to say about yourself from that basic conversation?
Like where you live.
Ah, yeah, I live in Silva, but I also, what kind of house do I live in?
Like the size of your house and what it's made out of and everything.
Vivo en una casa pequeña en el bosque. What was a bosque from our last class?
Does that mean apartment?
No, it's a forest, but it's good. It's a good.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
No, it's great. I love the way you're guessing. Apartamento would be apartment. So if I look at my vocabulary, let me open it up. I go to my class, click on course documents. I have my vocabulary here for unit 1, right? I go through my vocabulary and I think about all the things that I'm able to say. Like, okay, I can say how I feel, right? I'm good today. I can talk about my nationality. I can say soy de, I'm from, or I can just say soy, and then I can say like estadounidense. I can use numbers, right? I have this many years. I can talk about my birthday. My birthday is this. I can talk about what I like. I can say me gusta. So I can go back to my presentation and I can be like, oh, okay. So me gusta bailar y cantar. I can talk about what I don't like. No me gusta vivir en la ciudad. I don't like to live in the city. That's why I live in the country, right? So I have all of these things and then I can add a picture and then guess what? I'm done with that very first part of my project, right? Because the very first part, well, the very first thing here, basic conversation. I've included that, right? So now I can go to school. What can you guys say about school? Do you guys know what you're able to say about school?
You can say what classes you have and what time the classes are or something.
Exactly. You can talk about your classes. So you can say, tengo las clases de, and then you put in the names of your classes, right? And you can say school begins at this time. Do you get what you don't have to like come up with a lot of people try to make it too complicated, but I'm not trying to get you to make it complicated. I'm trying to get you to show me that you know how to do the things that you know how to do. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Okay, great. So you're not trying to reinvent the wheel. You're trying to like, hey, okay, in my project, I was actually talking about my classes. I can go back to my project and I can use a part of that in my thing. And maybe I can add a few more things here to talk about it. If we look at all of the things in housing, we can talk about our house. We can talk about our family. We can talk about hobbies, food, shopping experiences, and community. And the really great thing is you guys did all of those cultural assignments, right? So if you're describing your experiences in Costa Rica, it doesn't have to be your actual house, right? You can describe what your house is like in Costa Rica. You can describe your family in Costa Rica that you stayed with, right? The food that you ate in Costa Rica, shopping experiences that you had in Costa Rica, and your community in Costa Rica. Did I just there's crickets. Does that feel good?
Wait, can you repeat that? Sorry, cut out a bit.
That's okay. In your class, you learned a lot about the culture in Costa Rica, right?
Yeah.
So in your family, you might eat pizza every day, but if in Costa Rica you say, like, in Costa Rica, I eat
Rice and beans.
gallo pinto, exactly. I eat gallo pinto. But in my family, I eat hamburgers, right? So you can talk about those kind of things because you're basically describing your experiences in Costa Rica. It's not in the past tense though, just in the present tense. You're not trying to do anything crazy
Okay.
because you don't know how to write in the past tense yet. So you're going to be demonstrating the concepts and vocabulary you taught in the course, and then you can look at the summary of course content. There's a link to this in your actual project. That's the very first part of the writing in Spanish. Do you guys feel good with that?
Yep.
And you can talk about, like, if you don't even have to talk about your classes here. Like you can say, in Costa Rica, tengo las clases de whatever you have here. And then you can talk about your school. In Costa Rica, school begins at this time rather than at this time. And that's a lot of the great cultural stuff that you can go for. All right. So writing is our first part. The second part is speaking in Spanish. It needs to be at least 2 paragraphs, and it's not what you just wrote. So you're going to be comparing what you did in Costa Rica, or what you do in Costa Rica versus what you do in the United States. So it's not the same as what you write in the previous bullet, but you have to write a different response. And you're going to basically not read what you wrote in your thing, but you're going to write something totally different that you're going to be reading to me about that. So if we talk about the things that we do in Costa Rica, I'm just going to do a new doc for us. No, it's not new. What's one thing, we just talked about it, but what's one thing in Costa Rica that we do in Costa Rica that we don't necessarily do in the United States? We talked about food.
Eat rice and beans.
Okay, so if I wanted to say in Costa Rica, ellos comen gallo pinto. What about here?
We eat hamburgers. I have a question with this. How many, like, is there going to be enough? Is it okay if we describe more of what we do here than in Costa Rica? Because, like, I don't know how many things I could come up with.
You have 8 units of culture, so just go back there and be like,
Okay.
It's just 2 paragraphs, like 8 sentences.
Okay. Oh, okay. I thought it was longer than that.
Two
thought it was-
paragraphs. Don't freak out.
Okay.
Yep. They eat rice and beans. We eat hamburgers. And it doesn't mean like that everything has to be different, right? Because they have a lot of things. That's what your cultural stuff is about, like similarities and differences.
Oh, okay. I thought it was all differences.
In
So,
Costa Rica, what do they have a lot of?
Trying to think. It's like soccer's really big there.
Oh,
But I don't know if that could.
juegan, or in Costa Rica, juegan fútbol americano.
In the US, you could say.
Y también jugamos mucho fútbol aquí, right?
Yeah.
And we also play a lot of football. Or you could say just I, juego, and I play a lot of football if you play football or soccer. If you don't play soccer, you could say, pero yo no juego fútbol americano. I mean, not fútbol americano. That should just say football. That's why I was confusing myself. I was like, what? Y yo también juego mucho fútbol, or también juego mucho fútbol. Don't make it complicated. Just try to write, 8 to 10 sentences about similarities and differences in Costa Rica, and then you're going to read that. So remember, this part has to be different from your writing part. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay, great. Okay. Easy. All you have to do is do it on Vocaroo, or you can do it on the thing that records for your project, right? in the course, it's easy. But I would use Vocaroo if you don't have something to record it on your computer and then add it. The last part is the easiest part, and some people skip it, and I'm like, don't skip this part. It's in English. It's just a reflection. And so this is the third part of the 3-part final project. What differences have you seen between Spanish language and your native language? What did you find interesting and exciting about the Costa Rican culture? And what do you hope to learn if you continue to study the Spanish language? We have learned elements of a language at a different teaching learning style than you may be used to because you learned online, right? How have either of you taken online classes before, or is this your first time?
Not through the school, but I've taken other like extracurricular stuff online.
All right, great. So you might just be like, well, I've actually taken an academic class online before, so it was a new experience for me, or it was similar to the things that I've done before, but a little bit different. So you can talk about that. What things did you do that helped you learn Spanish, and what things did I do to help you? Was there something I could have done to help you? You feel free to be honest, but I promise I won't count points if you're very honest with me. I try to do a really good job, but it's a very hard job, and just for everybody. So I promise I can take constructive criticism, but really proud of you guys for all that you've been learning and doing in the class. And I appreciate your communication. So I think that is it. And if you guys have any questions, I know we've talked throughout, but feel free to ask them. So how many parts are there to the whole exam process?
3?
2.
Oh,
Yeah.
What's the
Okay.
reflection part of? Is that
You're
part
right. Yes. Final exam has 2 parts, the final exam, right? And the final project. And you're right. How many parts does the final project have?
Oh, that is 2.
Three.
That's 3. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You got it. So there are 3 parts. So that's why it's complicated. Final exam, we talked about it. It has a listening and it has a reading component, right? And then the final project has those 3 parts, which is going to be, so we have listening, reading that are kind of inputs, right? And then we have outputs, writing, speaking, and then a reflection on the whole entire process. How you feel? That's why we put in a whole week for it, right?
It's not too bad.
It's not too bad. If you get done with the course early and or like unit 8, you just fly through unit 8 and then you're like, I just want to take the exam before Christmas and be done. You're welcome to do that too.
And what about taking it over Christmas? Is that fine?
Of course. Yeah. I
Okay.
won't be grading over Christmas, but I will get it graded for you by the time we get back.
Okay, sounds good.
But the exam is auto graded, so you'll automatically get your grade for that.
Okay, because it's all multiple choice, right?
Yeah, that's right. And remember, if you want to check your grades, you're going to go to your student view. And you're going to click on your grades. I'm going to show people on this recording too, just in case they don't watch the unit 8 recording. But you're going to click here, and then you'll be able to see all grading periods. That will include your final exam grade, and you'll be able to see my grade is this grade over here. If you don't do that, you'll only see this coursework because that's what it's defaulted to. And then if you want to see just your final exam project grade, you'll click there, and then your final exam project will show up after you click apply. I always forget to click apply. It'll be here because I just haven't put in the dates for it yet because it has to be a certain date that I put it in, and it will show up here as soon as you click apply. All right. Do you have any questions or answers for me? You guys have been troopers tonight. And you have this link and you can practice with those there.
Oh, I have a question.
Yeah, what's up, Riley?
When is all of this due?
So this depends on if your school is finishing early. Some schools are asking for things by December 10th. And if you are that person, you should already know if you are that person. But if you go to our class and click on any of our courses here, you can see inside of course documents a link to the schedule of assignments, right? And so if you're in a fall class, let me go to a fall class because it's going to be a little different. I have a couple year-long classes too. So click on course documents and then click on schedule of assignments pacing guide. And some students will be finished by December 10th. And if you're an Eno River student, then you're going to be finished by the 10th. But your thing will reflect this. But Riley and Sam, you guys have all the way until January 7th. So we have a couple weeks off here from the 18th to the 3rd of January. That's when everything is due. But a lot of these weeks right here only have 1 or 2 lessons due. And so I would say like, hey, for this week, actually you could do 2 lessons here. And then this week 17, you could actually do your final and then you could be done with the class, or you can work on your project over the break and turn everything in by January 7th.
Sounds good.
Awesome. All right. Thank you guys so much. And
Thank you.
hope you have a great night. And I really appreciate you hanging out with me for 2 hours. You guys are troopers.
Thank you. I mean, it must be harder to give presentations for 2 hours.
Well, I feel bad because I hate coughing, but I just had a little bit of a cold. So I'm sorry that you had to hear me cough as well. I've been trying to drink stuff, but
Oh, it's fine.
I can make it. I'm sorry. my
Thank you
eyes
so
are-
much. Gracias.
Thank you. Gracias a ustedes. Tengan buena noche.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches. Bye, Riley.
Bye, Mr. Board.
Bye. Thanks so much for coming to all my presentations. You're the best.
You're welcome.
I love you. I love you too. And I hope you have a great day. Thanks for hanging out with me.